All right, so this video is over box and whisker plots. So you should have already watched the Khan Academy video because that's the first example on your notes. But we're going to do two more examples together. So when you're creating a box and whisker plot, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the set of data and you're going to order it from least to greatest. So the smallest number is 8, so you're going to write 8 and you're going to cross it out. So the next number is 10. 13, 18, 23, 26. Whoops, that should have been 25. So 25, then 26, and then finally 30. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find your median. So the way you find your median is you find the middle of the numbers. So I do one here, one there, another side, doot, doot. And then, so I have 3 dots, and so I'm in between 18 and 23. So the way that you find the median between 18 and 23 is you have to find the average between the two numbers. So the way you find the average between two numbers is you're going to do 23 plus 18, which is 41, and you're going to divide that by 2, which is 20.5. So I'm going to draw a line down the middle of these, and I'm going to write this as 20.5. That's my median data, okay? So now I have what is called a upper quartile. The upper quartile is my bigger numbers, and my lower quartile is my smaller numbers, okay? That's what the median does. It breaks it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the median of the lower quartile. Well, the way we find the median of the lower quartile is doing the same thing. So I have two numbers. So between these two numbers, so I have two numbers on this side, and I have two numbers on the other side, 13 and 18. So again, we have to find the average between 10 and 13. So you're going to do 10 plus 13, which is 23. And then divide by 2, which is 11.5. So this is 11.5. And then we're going to do the same thing for upper quartile. So I'm going to draw a line down there. So it's going to be between 25 and 26, and that's just 25.5. So what we just did is we actually just created our box. So if you see, if I connect these lines, it creates our box. So our first quartile is going to be 11.5. Your first quartile is your median of your lower quartile. And my third quartile will be 25.5. And that'll be the median of my upper quartile. And my second quartile is also called the median, which we found the very first is 20.5. So I'm going to draw my box down here. So I got 11.5. So I'm going to say this is 11.5. My median is 20.5, so I say it's right here. And then my third quartile will be 25.5, which I'll say it's about here. So I'm going to draw my box again. See how that makes a nice box? And then you have to add your whiskers. Well, your whiskers are just your endpoints. So 8's my smallest number. So I'm going to have a line that goes at 8. So this is 8, and you just draw a line to that. So that's my first whisker. And my last whisker is going to be 30. So you draw a line right here, 30. And that's my second whisker. So that's how you create a box and whisker plot. Well, now we got to be able to read the box and whisker plot. So there's a couple things that you got to be able to find. You got to find your first quartile, your second quartile, third quartile, your minimum, your maximum, which we just listed. And then we're going to have to find our range. Well, to find the range is you're going to take the biggest number minus the smallest. So my biggest number is 30, minus 8 is 22. So my range is 22. So now we got to find something called the IQR. Well, the IQR is called the interquartile range. What the interquartile range is it finds the edge of the box. So it takes the biggest edge of the box and the smallest edge of the box. So it takes your third quartile minus your first quartile. So you're going to do 25.5 minus 11.5, which comes out to 14. So my interquartile range is 14. All right, so I'm going to erase some of this. I just want to talk about what this box is saying. So I have my whisker right here. That's 1/4 of the data. This box right here is 1/4 of the data. This is 1/4 of the data, and this other whisker is 1/4 of the data. So if you're ever looking at the lower quartile, that's 1/2, and the upper quartile is 1/2. And so that's how you break it up. And we'll talk more about this in person because it creates a discussion. But I just want you to understand what is happening. So remember, you have to have your minimum and your maximum. And you have to label your first quartile, second quartile, and third quartile. So let's try another one together. So the first thing you always do is list it from least to greatest. So my least number is 15, then 20, 35, 40, 60, 75, 80, 85, and then 90. Oh, no, not 90. That's supposed to be at 95. I was going up by 5s. And that's 95. All right, so now we're going to find the middle of it. So that's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Great. So we end on a nice number. So my median is 60. So that means my second quartile, or my median, is 60. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have to find our median. So our median is going to fall under the 20 and 35 because I have 2 on my left side and 2 on my right side. So the mean between them, the average, you're going to do 35 plus 20 is 55, if I can actually write that, is 55, and then you divide by 2, and when you divide by 2, you get 27.5, so that's 27.5. So now I got to do my upper quartile. Well, before I do my upper quartile, we just found our first quartile, so our first quartile is 27.5. And so now I got to find the median between my upper quartile, between 80 and 85. So we're going to do 80 plus 85, which is 165, and then divide by 2, which is 82.5. So that means that this is 82.5. So my third quartile is 82.5. Okay, so now let's draw our box and whisker plot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my minimum down. So my minimum is 15. So it's going to go in between here. So that's 15. My first quartile is 27.5. So it's going to go about right here. And my median is 60, which so it'll be right here. And these create a box. And my third quartile is 82.5, which will be right about here. And these create a box. And then my last whisker is 95, which will be right here. And it got a little smushed. Okay, and these connect with a little whisker. So there we are. So now we still have to find our range. So remember, our range is our maximum minus our minimum. So you're going to do 95 minus 15, which is 80. So our range is 80. So now we're going to do our IQR, which is called your interquartile range. So you're going to take your third quartile and subtract it from your first. And when you subtract it, you get 55. So our IQR is 55. All right, so box and whisker plots are pretty straightforward. This is just a refresher because you did learn box and whisker plots in 6th grade. And then tomorrow we're going to learn how to read them and compare data using them. All right, thank you guys.